Inescapable by Eli Mason. Chapter 1. It was an unusual night for Gotham City. It was too quiet. Besides the traffic and general city noises in the background, it wasn't much of an exciting night for Tim Drake, aka Robin. Bruce was out of town on some sort of business trip. He barely ever did this because of his role as Batman, but he trusted both Dick and Barbara to watch over Tim and patrol the city. Tim hated the thought of having to be babysat. He was 17 now and didn't think he needed much supervision. After all, Tim managed to pull off being Robin as well as remain the top of his class. He was in college now. He had been for 3 years. He was something of a prodigy. Bruce told him that there was definitely a spot for him at Wayne Enterprises, but first he had to complete the schooling. He was very intelligent, tactful, serious, and resourceful. These were traits that only made him a better student as well as a better Robin. Dick was much more laid back and humorous. Jason was much more spiteful and angry. Tim always envied the two of them, mostly Dick. Who wouldn't want to be Dick Grayson? As for Jason, Bruce did not like talking about Jason. Alfred told Tim what happened and how Jason had died and then come back. It wasn't anyone's favorite subject matter, to say the least. Tim hadn't really known much about him, other than some old footage of him training as a young Robin in the Batcave, and his old red, green, and yellow suit that had been torn apart and partly burned. Tim's modifications to the suit proved to be most worthwhile. He never understood why the previous Robins liked to go pantsless. Tim removed the green and yellow color scheme and replaced it with red and black. It was much more comfortable, as well as protective. Tim was wearing it proudly as he swung through the city, flipping and jumping off buildings. He was proud to be Robin. Tim's point of view. I wonder if Barbara will notice I'm gone, I said out loud as the wind whooshed through my dark brown hair while I continued to swing through the night. I always loved the city lights at night from above. I always loved the thrill of falling and then shooting the grappling hook last minute. Though I show great acrobatics, I was nothing compared to how graceful Dick was. I knew I shouldn't be too reckless. He was on patrol and I wasn't exactly supposed to be out. I hated being treated like a baby. I mean, I am more than capable of watching over the city for a couple of nights without it burning to the ground. I hated going against the orders of Bruce, or any of them for that matter. Barbara and Dick will have a shit fit if they realize that I snuck out by myself, but I see it more of an opportunity to prove myself to Bruce. Plus, if I can save the life of someone, then isn't it worth it? Isn't that the whole point? I didn't need to worry about that tonight. I couldn't find any action anywhere. The darkest alleys were free of drug dealers and muggers tonight. What the hell? I know Nightwing is good, but this is ridiculous. He's probably just as bored as I am. I finally landed on the rooftop of a nearby building. I gracefully stuck the landing, but I almost tripped with my next few steps. I laughed a little and continued to the edge of the rooftop and looked down. Even the traffic in Gotham wasn't as hostile as usual. This was yet another of the FML moments of my life. I quickly slapped my gloved hand to my face and sighed, with immense boredom. Great, I snuck out for nothing. That'll be the story to tell everyone when I get back to the manor. I bet that they'd all be waiting for me to sneak back in through my window, and I would put on a dumb, innocent grin on my face and say something stupid like, I needed to go to the store. Then Dick will lecture me on how dangerous it is for me to go out alone, and what Bruce would do. He and Barbara will probably hold it against me as blackmail, assholes. I mean, it's not like I was expecting the Joker. Even I know not to take him on alone. I'd been gone for approximately 50 minutes when my comlink buzzed, and Barbara's voice busted through my poor eardrum. Tim, where the hell are you? She shouted numerous times. I began to think that she would never stop. I was in trouble now and I knew it. Busted. Oh, hi, Babs, I said nervously, trying to be slightly comedic. I could tell she wasn't going to let this go. I would have to return to the mansion as soon as possible. Don't hi Babs me. You snuck out. I already radioed Nightwing and told him you weren't in your room. Where are you? She said angrily. I hated how she talked down to me like she was my parent. She was only 4 years older than me. I was tired of being treated like a kid. Ugh. Don't worry about it. I'm about to be on my way back now. Jeez, I said with an undermining tone. Hey, Tim, what the hell? Said a familiar voice in my ear. I could recognize Dick's voice anywhere, and I have to say, he was pissed. Look, I'm sorry, I was just bored, and... My voice cracked. I knew that was the absolute wrong thing to say. How could I be so stupid? You were bored? That's a good enough reason to sneak off? He shouted. Come on, Dick. It's not like you never snuck out on patrol when you were my age. I threw back at him sarcastically. This was true. Bruce told me about plenty of times when Dick would sneak out. He was even younger than me, though in his picture he looks older. We aren't talking about me, Tim. You're so much smarter than I was. You should know better. Now get back to the mansion. You think you can handle that? He said, trying to piss me off even more. Whatever, I said coldly as I aimed my grappling gun, about to shoot it. Suddenly, I heard a woman scream. I ran to the other side of the rooftop and glanced down at a woman with red hair and a purple coat. It looked expensive. She was in an alley, being mugged by some goon in a trench coat with a gun. That's gonna have to wait, Nightwing. I got trouble, I declared before taking the comlink out of my ear and dropping it on the rooftop. I'd be back to get it after I dealt with this bad guy. I needed to blow off some steam anyway, and I didn't need Dick yelling in my ear while fighting. I could hear his voice coming out of the discarded earpiece on the ground. I didn't care. I'd answer for it later. Right now, this woman needed my help. I quickly jumped off the side of the rooftop, flipped and slid down the side of the building with great ease. As I made my way down to the ground, I noticed that the mugger had red hair too, just not as red as the woman's. His old hat covered most of it anyway, but it seemed familiar. I landed behind him and he turned around. I immediately kicked the gun out of his hand and then delivered another kick to the face. After he fell to the ground, I saw his face. I know that I'd seen this guy before. I looked up and saw that the woman was fleeing in the corner of the seemingly narrow alley. It's okay now. I'm not going to hurt you, I said calmly while offering my hand to her. She didn't respond at all. Was I that scary? No shit. A deep voice said from behind me as an unknown figure grabbed me and shoved a cloth into my face. The cloth smelled like alcohol. I struggled and screamed, but this guy was a great deal stronger than me. My hearing was beginning to go faint and distorted. I knew that it had to be chloroform. Suddenly, standing up was proving to be too much of a challenge. My legs gave out, and I went limp. I could still feel the mystery bad guy holding me up. After that, everything went black. When I began to wake up, I kept hearing voices. I was fading in and out of consciousness. When I finally did wake up, I remembered what happened, and my whole body jumped. I was on the floor in a dark room. There was a bed and a door that led to a bathroom. There was another door that was partially opened. Light beamed through, and I could hear unrecognizable voices in the next room. I couldn't quite make out what they were saying. I peeked through the small opening and saw 3 people. The first was a tall, red-haired woman in a short purple dress. The woman was digging through the fridge. She pulled out a huge can of beans and a jar of peanut butter. I must have been in some hotel or something. She had some bulk to her figure and looked like she just got a spray tan. Yeah, I vote we get takeout, said a male voice. This wasn't the voice I heard when I was kidnapped. The second person was a slender, yet somewhat muscular guy with that oh-so-familiar orange hair. His hair was cut pretty short and clean cut, but he had some stubble on his face. He was sitting at a table, leaning back in his chair. Nonsense, said the woman. The third person was a tall, muscular man with black hair. He had a little white streak of hair in the front. He was wearing a brown leather jacket with a white t-shirt underneath and black pants. I'm gonna have to side with Roy on this one. Sorry, Corey, the man said. I knew that was it. That was the voice I heard before I was knocked out. What the hell did these guys want with me? I hadn't ever seen them before. Then I realized that I wasn't wearing anything except a pair of blue boxers and a white t-shirt. Even my mask was gone. That means that these guys knew my identity now. How could I have been so stupid? Why did I have to be so reckless? Maybe I could still sneak out of the hotel room and get away. I thought about how I could do it. They thought I was still passed out. There weren't any windows in the dark room I was in, so I knew I'd have to go through the front door. These guys hadn't tied me up or anything, so maybe they weren't as smart as I thought. As I spied on them through the bedroom door, all they seemed to do was argue over what kind of food they were going to get. I could also see another door past the table and the couch. That had to be the entrance. I could see that the lock on the door was turned, so I needed to be prepared to quickly unlock it and make my escape. Maybe if I just moved quickly, then I might make it. If they wanted to kill me, they had the perfect opportunity to do so while I was unconscious. Despite what their motives may have been, I was not prepared to be someone's captive. I waited until they were all looking away when I bolted out of the bedroom and headed straight for the door. I was just a few inches from it when they noticed me, and the red-haired guy jumped me. "Relax, kid, you ain't going nowhere," he said, trying to hold me down on the floor with my hands behind my back. But I quickly reacted with another kick to the face, this time much harder than before. "We'll see," I said. Then I quickly unlocked the bolt on the door and opened it a little, only to have it slammed shut by the other man with the white hair streak. That really pissed me off. I launched a barrage of punches and kicks at this guy, but he blocked every one of my attacks without much effort. "I told you we should have tied him up," muttered the red-haired guy while holding his face. "Who the hell are you?" I hissed while glaring into his blue eyes. How insulting. I figured the new Robin would at least know who I am. Shows what the old man learned after all this time. "Think about it, replacement," he said coldly. My eyes widened, and my voice cracked as I began to speak. "You're Jason." I can't say that my reaction wasn't completely abnormal. "That's right, kid, and you should really learn some respect," he said before forcefully punching me in the stomach. I could tell that he wasn't holding back. The pain was excruciating. I slid down to the floor as I held my abdominal area. I thought I was going to black out due to the pain. Then I coughed up some blood. It was dripping down my chin. I wiped it off with my arm. Jason kneeled down and began to whisper in my ear. "That's better. Now, if you try to escape again, I'll break your fucking leg." His voice tickled my ear. It was deep and scary. As a result, it made my whole body tingle. I was beginning to get goosebumps. This man was scary. I was trying my best not to cry, but I could feel the tears gathering in my eyes. This guy wasn't kidding. I could feel the tears slowly streaming down my face. I felt worse than pathetic. What kind of Robin am I? Dick would have taken this guy out the first chance he had. "What do you want with me?" I whimpered, with the taste of blood still lingering in my mouth. I was still struggling to catch my breath. "That's a good question. What do we want with him?" the red-haired guy asked, while looking at Jason with one brow raised. Who was this guy? I swear he looked familiar. I knew that I had seen him somewhere before. Even his voice sounded familiar to me, but I couldn't place it. "It doesn't concern you, Harper. Just drop it. The kid stays with us now. End of story," Jason said with a glare at the other guy. That is when I finally put two and two together. This was Roy Harper, the Arsenal. He used to be called Speedy, and was Green Arrow's sidekick before he started doing drugs or something. Batman and I had worked with a case with the two of them once. I couldn't recognize him because he wasn't wearing the mask. "Whatever, but I ain't babysitting," he said while glancing over at me while rubbing where my foot had hit his cheek. Asshole. I know he was just being a smartass, but I wasn't a baby, and I certainly didn't need to be under any supervision. I just pouted. "Hold him down, Roy," Jason said as he went into the dark room from which I had emerged. Roy then went over to me and pulled me to my feet. He held my hands behind my back again. I could easily get out of his hold, but what was the point? By the time I could free myself, Jason will have been back, and I didn't feel like having my leg broken. "Look, kid, just do what he says and he won't hurt you. I know Jason's an ass, but he isn't evil. Trust me, he's actually a really good guy," Roy said quietly. What the hell did that mean? Jason kidnapped me, and then his little minions are holding me captive in some unknown hotel for some unknown reason, and I am supposed to believe that deep down Jason's really a nice guy? I don't think so. Was this really happening? He kidnapped me and just threatened to break my leg if I tried to escape. I said flatly, glaring behind me at Roy with a look that said, die. I'm only trying to make it easier on you, kid. Get pissed if you want to. Just do me a favor and don't kick me in the face anymore. That'd be nice, Roy said, countering my death stare. I kind of felt bad for kicking his face, but then I thought about my current situation and quickly reconsidered. At least he had a sense of humor, unlike Jason. By the way, this is Corey. If you think Jason punches hard, you should see her, Roy said as the woman began to casually walk toward me. Her eyes seemed to be glowing green. She was pretty muscular for a woman. She was almost as tall as Jason. Her hair was a fiery red. Aren't you a cutie? Pleased to meet you, she said sweetly with a smile. Her hand made its way to my cheek and gave it a slight pinch. She was acting as though nothing bad were going on in front of her eyes, like this kind of thing was completely normal. Who the hell were these people? Among all this crap, I nearly forgot that I was in nothing but boxers and a white t-shirt, as if I weren't humiliated enough yet. I began to blush a little. I wish I could say the same, I mouthed while jerking my head away from her orange hand. She seemed nice, but they all played a part in my kidnapping. I wasn't going to let them off easy and be their perfect little pet prisoner. I am Robin, after all. She laughed and then proceeded to go get a bottle of water from the fridge. That's when I heard a jiggling sound and saw Jason return from the room with a long pair of handcuffs. Prick. Wait a minute, get away from me, I cried as I began to struggle and resist the hold that Roy had me in. Jason came closer with the restraints and I started to panic. Hold him, Roy, Jason shouted while coming closer. Immediately and almost instinctively, I delivered a back kick to Roy's knee and flipped over behind him as he yelled in pain. I didn't even kick him that hard. Damn it, kid, Roy screeched as he held his knee and bounced on one leg. Jason dropped the shackles and came at me. I would have been mad to try to take him on like that, so I took to the defensive. This guy was like 2 feet taller than me and much stronger. I don't know why I was so surprised at first. After all, Bruce did train him, but he trained me too. He basically trashed the place trying to catch me. All I could do was dodge and keep my distance. His fighting style was that of close range, and his technique was similar to street fighting. Corey just sat there watching like it was some sort of movie or spectacle. All she did was laugh at the outrageous antics of Jason and Roy trying to catch me. Finally, Roy managed to tackle me. This gave Jason the opportunity he needed. He quickly reared his fist back and it connected with my face. I blacked out.